Hi, good. Hi, Carly. Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me. I am a doula. I am a mom of three, and I am a CPST, a child passenger safety technician with the Child Passenger Safety Association of Canada, certified for how long now? I think it's been coming up, or it's been 5 years. I think it's 5 years, March 16th, maybe even. So we recertify every 3 years. We work as volunteers within the community. I obviously work with my clients and make sure that they're well educated and set up. I do it mostly in my business, but I also do private seat checks as well, and as a volunteer. I have three kids. And what's special about and more unique about my three kids is that I was a teen mom. So I got pregnant and had my first baby when I was 18. She is 26 now. I had my second one 19 years and 3 weeks later. After I met my husband when my eldest was 10, I was a single mom for 10 years. So she just turned 7 in January. And then we also have a 3.5-year-old son. So I'm kind of right in the car seat stuff myself again. And still, I've always been a car person. So I love vehicles. I love to drive. I was a driving instructor for 9 years. Ever since I was a little kid, I was interested in cars and like how they work and the ins and outs of them. And when my eldest was younger, I had a car seat for her, and then I had the infant one, and then I had the convertible. But I don't believe that I actually used anything for her past 3 years old. And she is a pretty tiny human. And so at 3, she was only about 27 pounds and sitting in the front seat at that point. And that to me was terrifying when I look back on it, because I'm lucky that she is alive today. I can honestly say that if there had been a collision, she would have slid right through that seatbelt and would most likely not have survived anything. So when I had my second, I was glad that I had always kind of looked after kids and here and there, like I nannied throughout the years. And through that, I kind of saw the new seats coming up, and I always had such a keen interest in them that I felt like I was doing things right, the kids I was looking after and stuff. And of course I wasn't doing them excellent or perfectly, but I was definitely doing them better than many people even that we see today. And that interest was a huge part of that. When you're interested in something, you tend to be like better at it because you want to practice it more and just gain that experience. So when I had my second, she was about 11 months. I had gotten an infant seat for my brother, one that they had used for both of their kids, one that I knew had never been crashed or like checked on an airplane. And when she was 11 months old, I needed to switch her to a convertible car seat. She was at the very max height of the car seat, and I knew that I needed to switch. And through that process, I actually learned that not all seats are great for tall kids, for example, and not all seats fit in every single vehicle. Shortly after, only about 3 months after that, within those few months, I sort of started to join Facebook groups and sort of see people here and there who were techs or who were super keen in car seat safety and stuff like that. And I started to learn more. And that's when I met Holly Choi of Safe Beginnings. Shortly after that, I certified to become a technician, and the rest is basically history. Like I fell in love with that course. I fell in love with all of the knowledge. So Holly was the first one in North Van at the time who was a certified CPST. I was the second one. And since we've actually grown quite a team over here on the North Shore, which is pretty great, because the more education and information we can put out there, the safer that the kids will be. Essentially, you can find us at www.saferseats.ca. A lot of us techs on the Lower Mainland use that website. You can schedule appointments with some of our volunteers. The other place where you can find us is the Vancouver Island Car Seat Technicians group, and they post weekly sales every Friday, and the Vancouver to Fraser Valley Car Seat group as well. And that's where a whole bunch of us techs are, and where we can give out recommendations and help with advice and things like that. I will start off by talking about like, where do we start when it comes to car seats and like picking the right seat. So it's super important that we do reach out to techs who have the experience, because not all car seats fit all vehicles, and not all car seats fit all scenarios and or children, and not all car seats, like infant car seats, fit all strollers. So there's also that dynamic. Car seats are a complicated game, and it's not just as easy as, you know, running to the store, picking something and then putting it into your car and off we go. It does take a little bit more thought, and I feel like not everybody realizes that until they buy a seat that may or may not fit in their vehicle, or may not last their child very long, and they spent all this money. Samantha, car seats give me nosebleeds, she says. Like, yeah, I mean, I hear that. It's
got 3 under 3, so
yeah, exactly. When you're first starting off, you're having your first child, say you want to like pick a car seat. Did you know that you can go with the infant only seat, so the bucket style seat?
Picking the type of car seat when you're first having your first baby, you can choose an infant seat that like clicks into the stroller, but again, not every infant seat fits every stroller. So you have to look at the adapters that particular stroller might have versus the infant seats that you're looking at. Or you can start straight from a convertible. So not all convertibles fit newborns really well, but there are definitely some in our market that do. And reaching out to techs, we can always help with those kinds of decisions.
It's totally safe and totally fine to start with a convertible from birth. A lot of people who have like their second or third baby and tend to choose to do that. So instead of choosing the infant seat, they go straight into a convertible, and they do a lot more baby wearing, for example. So when you have, like, you know, I'm sure Samantha knows, when you have a lot of small kids, or like more than one small child, it's a lot of the times easier to just wear the baby or wear one of them, and then you're more hands-free and able to deal with the rest of the kids. But yeah,
I totally did that with Michaela.
Yeah. And I did it with kids that I was nannying when Lily was little, because I was still nannying a family when Lily was born. It was super handy when I had 3 kids in tow to be able to wear the baby, and then the big kids would just go in the stroller. Michaela, are you joining us? Fit to vehicle, fit to child, fit to stroller. So a lot of car seats, a lot of people go out and they buy a car seat and they think, oh, this is going to be the last car seat that I need, for example, for my child. If their kids tend to be on the taller side, a lot of the times the harness height isn't tall enough to be able to accommodate for a taller child, as well as like weight limits for rear facing, things like that, can sometimes tend to be on the about like lower side, like a 35-pound rear facing limit, 40-pound rear facing limit versus a 45 or 50-pound rear facing limit, for example. It just depends on the child. So my second two kids, my second and third, are super tall. And I feel like I just lucked out by picking a seat that had a high harness height to begin with, because if I hadn't, then I would have had to go out and buy a new seat when my daughter was 4.5, because kids are generally not booster ready until they're about 5.5 to 6.5 years old. And the other thing I would like to mention is that even though we see that the laws state that a child can be 40 pounds to move into a booster, the laws are not best practice. And we, as CPSTs, that's what we practice is best practice. And that's what we teach, because we know that it keeps our kids as safe as possible when riding in vehicles. We, like, when we're talking about switching from anything, like I just talked about convertible to booster, when we talk about switching from infant seat to convertible seats, we want to make sure that we are super knowledgeable about the seat, the limits of the seat. And normally kids outgrow the limits of the seat in height before weight a lot of the time. And for example, some infant seats might go to 32 pounds and 32 inches, which is actually, I think, the highest limit in an infant seat. And then convertible seats don't always go to, say, 65 pounds. Sometimes they only go to 50 pounds And so you have to be really, really careful and know like how tall your child is and what weight they're at. Like we check every couple of months just to make sure that we know whereabouts our kids are in their seats at all times, kind of thing, just because they do grow super fast as well. But for example, my 3.5-year-old is close to 45 inches now, I'd say, and about 45 pounds. And he's now forward facing in a click foom, but he doesn't have very much room left. Like I've just switched him to the highest harness height, and his sister that was on the same growth trajectory as he is outgrew that seat at 4.5. And so I have other seats with a higher harness height limit to move him into those seats when he's outgrown the one that he is in my vehicle currently. And then my 7-year-old is, she just turned 7 in January, and she is 53 inches tall, about probably 57, 58 pounds, and has just been in a booster this year steadily. So we started booster practice in the summer when she was 6.5. And she's been now she's in a high back booster full time in my vehicle as well as in my husband's. And she will be, because sometimes she tends to fall asleep. And so she has the head wings to kind of be able to rest her head when she does fall asleep instead of slumping over in the car seat, because that's also super dangerous. That being said, about, all of the limits of the seats and best practice and things like that, I know that you have a bit of an issue that we briefly talked over before our chat today.
Yes.
And would you like to talk about it?
Very sheepish. Okay, so Michaela just hit what I thought was the limit to be able to go into a booster seat. So we were all very excited about that because it was a pain in the ass trying to strap her into this tiny little car seat. This harness wasn't fitting her properly anymore. And we're like, well, I guess she's ready for the booster seat. I checked ICBC and it said it was okay. And then I told Tania and she said no. So I'm in trouble with Tania.
Yeah, well, not in trouble, not at all. It's exciting because it's something that you get to learn, right? And that's what this is all about. Like, it's all about, and like I said, like I knew none of this with my first, and I'm just grateful that I did like have the opportunity to learn more. So there's a really, really great link that we love to share. It's called To Booster or Not to Booster. And it really gives you the ins and outs of why, when, and how to transition our children into the booster stage. Because when kids are too small, for example, the seatbelt still won't fit them properly. And in the event of a collision, like if the seatbelt's kind of coming across their neck or coming across their stomach, in the event of a crash, the seatbelt is not going to either even keep them in their seat or it's going to do damage to their body, unfortunately. So that's why we really make sure that the child fits that seatbelt properly. But not only that, are they able to sit properly in the seat at all times? So they need the maturity of a child that is able to not slump over when they're sleeping, not be like goofing around and, wiggling all the time and moving around their seatbelt and things like that. So when a child is, say, 12 years old and all of their friends have been out of boosters for, since they were 9 years old or forfeit 9, because those are the laws, they can tend to get really, really antsy about that. But a lot of 12-year-olds are still not big enough to sit properly. And then so for that test, we have what's called the 5-step test, and we can find that online as well. And that is the test that we offer people to go over the 5 steps that if your child is ready to move out of their booster seat, then and they meet all of those requirements, then and only then is the time to move them out of that booster seat, if that makes sense. But yeah, there's so many different ins and outs. The research and development in this industry has come so far since I had my first, and it's you know, I'm so grateful that there are more and more and more CPSTs out there to find this information and get all of the correct advice for best practice to keep all of our kids safe as possible. Hi, Hunter. It really, really helps because, I mean, essentially the number one cause. I'm just reading, Sabrina, listening to you talk about kids and them not following the rules in their seats with their seatbelts. I feel like I'm probably not being good myself with following the rules either. I wear my seatbelt, but it's uncomfortable and I hate it. And I hear that, Sabrina. I am very large chested and my seatbelt constantly slides on me and it doesn't stay right between my breasts. I'm constantly readjusting it, but I'm also constantly readjusting it so that it is in the right spot, hopefully, you know, if and when something happens.
Hunter's pretty tall.
Yep.
He's not quite the right weight to get out of his booster, but we find that now when he's in it, his head's now getting to almost the top of the seat, not the
Okay.
booster seat, but the actual seat of the vehicle. Should I just take him out of it?
No. So the top of the head to the vehicle seat, you're saying, is, yeah, that's totally fine. As long as he's within about halfway to his ears, so he still has quite a bit of room to grow. It also depends on the booster seat that he's in and what the weight and height limit is for that particular seat. So of course, if you can find out exactly which seat that is and what model, then I can find that information for you. Unless you have the vehicle manual or the seat manual.
I may have to go look for the seat manual online.
Yeah.
Probably
sometimes it's just easier to find out what seat it is and then we can look it up online and figure it out for you. Yeah.
And then as for Michaela, now I have to try and figure out what to do with her because the other car seat with the harness wasn't working too well.
Wasn't working for her. So if the harness was truly outgrown, which it sounds like maybe it was, what we can also do is set something up and get you properly checked. It may have been also expired if it was a seat that you used for Hunter as well.
No, this was bought just for Michaela.
Okay. Do you know what seat it was?
Oh, I can't even remember. I'll have to look through the manual again. So we've got something from Sam. I FaceTime a tech when I install new seats or change cars. We did just change vehicles too. We're now we have a bench seat for a truck. So I don't know if that also changes things. I don't think we really have the anchors like the other vehicles.
Okay. Do you have a top tether? So just the one top strap? We can look at all of those details,
it's a booster seat right now, so we'll have to try and figure it out. But
okay. And it totally depends on the type of truck, the year of the truck, all of that stuff, whether or not it has stuff. And we have books that we call our latch manuals that can tell us all of that information as well. Or we can look it up online, of course. But it's all of this stuff is just getting the stats of your kids, the stats of your vehicles, and kind of what you're looking to do, and that's how we make recommendations. If we don't know and we don't have the experience with your particular vehicle or seats, then we have an entire community all across Canada that we can reach out, and usually somebody has some experience. The other thing is for people buying new seats or looking at different car seats, CLEC is a Canadian company that has an incredible database. They have fit tons of their seats in various different vehicles, and they have all of that information in their database, and it's a really, really handy thing to look into if you are looking at the CLEC seats. But there's also us techs and reaching out to us.
What's a lower budget seat that's still relatively safe? Do you have any suggestions on that?
Yep. So our number one seat for that is the Even Flow Sure Ride. It
That's what
has
it was.
yeah, one of the highest harness heights available in a convertible. It can be quite a long lasting seat. It's also incredibly handy for traveling. Not that a lot of people are, well, I think a lot of people are, but a lot of people aren't traveling these days.
Right now.
And in Even Flow Sure Ride, it does actually work from infancy to like an average child to like 6.5, sometimes greater if they're on the shorter side. Jana might be able to mention a couple of seats below that I'm not super familiar with. I know that there are a few seats on the market now that are a little bit more reasonably priced, but aren't as like they haven't been around for as long. But the Even Flow Sure Ride is probably the like most inexpensive and best deal out there for like how long it does last.
Well,
Yeah.
good. Then at
Yeah.
least I did
Yeah.
that right. Okay, so Sam
Yes.
has a
Yeah.
question about forward facing. She said, after having my third, because of the car I have had to forward face my newly 3-year-old, I am, however, getting my car in a few weeks, and I could, or her new car in a few weeks, and could put him back in rear facing, but it may piss him off at this point to revert back. When is it truly safe to forward face? He is on the shorter side.
So we do like to say, rear face as long as the seat like allows. So if the child, doesn't reach the weight maximum or the height maximum, then that's great and they can go as long as possible in that seat. What we do know is that between the ages of 2 and 4, the spine and neck, everything starts to ossify and sort of become harder. Whereas before, from 0 to 2, there's nothing really holding the neck and spine together at that point. And by around age 4, it is fully developed. So, for example, because my kids are so tall and have been on the heavier side, I actually have had to move them forward facing sooner than I wanted to. But that being said, I do feel comfortable with my 3.5-year-old forward facing now. I didn't necessarily when he was closer to 3, but as long as you're doing everything as safe as possible and you know that seat is being used properly and installed properly, then our kids are as safe as they possibly can be at that point. But rear facing for as long as possible is, sorry. My husband's calling and he knows I'm on this call.
Sabrina wants to know, why is rear facing so important? And we have somebody else here as well. How do you talk to kids about car safety without freaking them out? Like if they want to move to a booster, but it's safer that they don't. So we've got 2 questions there.
Yep. Okay. We know that if we could all be rear facing in a vehicle, it would be our safest option. Basically, for a small child, an infant, their heads are so much larger than their bodies in comparison. So when and if there's a forward facing, like they're in a collision and they get propelled forward, their head is so heavy in comparison to their body that it puts added strain on their neck and their spine. Whereas if they are rear facing, it actually just they just kind of get like almost more secured in the seat as with the impact.
How do you get an older child to understand the car seat safety without freaking them out if they want to move to a booster, but it's safer if they don't?
Yeah,
so I'm guessing probably the 3 or 4 or 5-year-old that's kind of wanting to be bigger.
Well, I mean, ultimately we are their parents. And so it is our job to keep them as safe as possible. And that is what I have told my kids. I've also explained to them, like, how the seatbelt fits, why the seatbelt fits a certain way, and all of that kind of stuff. I feel like it's hard on kids when they enter elementary school, for example, because they see not all of, but the majority of their friends in booster seats in kindergarten, when not a lot of those kindergarten and grade ones are actually even 40 pounds yet. So not only is it not best practice, but it's not even legal at that point. So there's a lot of peer pressure in a lot of ways. As sad as that sounds, in 2020, it's peer pressure starts right in preschool. And so even my daughter, who is in grade one, she has had a hard time because she wanted to be in her backless booster. Why do I have to have a high back booster? And I did have a backless booster for her, but I wasn't comfortable with her sitting in it because it didn't feel right to me, like it, and I knew it wasn't protecting her properly. And when she fell asleep, she would slump over. So I made sure that I bought 2 high back boosters, and I have one in each vehicle now. That is just like educating them as well as ourselves, I feel, is your best course of action in that regard. And hopefully, they will listen and they will understand it. I feel like being really real with them and just just keep reminding them that you're doing it because it is the safest thing for them and you want them to be alive and well, in the event that something should happen. Yeah, I hope that answers that question.
Totally. I mean, I'm not exactly diplomatic with the kids either. Like when it comes to walking down the street, even, I'm like, nope, you have to hold my hand. Otherwise a car's going to come up, back into you, and your brains are going to be all over the road.
Yeah, I really feel like it's the exact same thing, right? Like we don't, let them do, and it's not being like a helicopter parent. It's literally like keeping them as safe as possible because of things that can kill them.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And sometimes depending on the type of kid you have, they'll either understand by you being gentle with them and explaining the safety. And other times you really do have to go that extra mile and be like, here, I'll Google it for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I had to show my kids pictures of frostbite to get them to wear their jackets.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's what frostbite looks like. I really wish I didn't have to look that up, but they won't listen.
It's a good thing they don't know what it feels like. That's a whole other, right?
That's what I told them. I first started with what it would feel like, and they didn't believe me.
Mm-hmm.
So that's it. He's going back to rear facing, and I'll buy him a cookie. Well, you don't have to buy him a cookie, Sam, but if you want to, I mean, that might just open up the ability for him to think he gets cookies all the time.
Yeah, that too. I've used food a lot, and not necessarily treat food, but kids get to a certain stage, usually around 16, 18 months, where they're like, no, I don't want to go on my seat. And we go crazy. And then a lot of people just flip them because they think that that's what they want, when essentially they're just having a power struggle because they're learning new things. And so giving them power in other areas of their life really helps, and giving them choices in other areas of their lives opens their minds up to a whole new world. And then what I found is that the car seat stuff is no longer an issue. The
truth is, I want cookies. Well, Sam, you're not supposed to give them to the kids. You keep them for yourself. I want cookies too. I hide them. I'll tell you all the good hiding spots, because they haven't found them yet. They think they do.
They see Michaela all over you, and now I got one underneath my legs. And okay, please don't blow that whistle when I'm on.
I feel like today's broadcast is the definition of #mom life. Pretty much.
It totally is. Yeah.
I mean, that's one thing I love about this group, and just having these friendships now, because we're really real with our kids.
Yes.
And it's none of that feeling like we don't measure up. We all know we all have bad days.
It's so true. It's so true.
Back on the luminaries, I mean, Michaela was on my shoulders and everybody was cracking up. But then other times you have the kids on your shoulders, and then I feel much better.
Yeah. I try and avoid it. And Rowan's usually in daycare on Fridays, so that does help. But he's they've definitely been around, and it's spring break for us, and so
Mhm.
it is what it is. Yeah.
I don't know. I still think the 2 weeks of spring break is too long.
I don't know. Going for we had a I shared with you earlier that we had a beach day yesterday, beach afternoon. We actually went into the ocean, all of us, and it was magical. Like we were down there for about 4 hours, and it was just absolutely brilliant. And I felt so grounded and just like fresh. And then it went back to, seemingly
Yeah.
winterish today. So it's kind of
Yeah,
funny
I know.
how,
It was such a tease. We had all this beautiful sunlight and then it just gone again.
yeah.
And now it's supposed to rain all week. So that should be fun.
Yay. We're
But
gonna get
we
into
took
the
them out
forest either
3
way.
days.
Either way.
I took them out 3 days out of the week. We went to the park. Hunter climbed a tree and was very, very proud at how high he climbed. And I'm just waving and smiling. And Michaela found a big patch of mud. And oh, that reminds me, I actually have to wash shoes today in the washing machine.
Oh
That's
yeah,
gonna be
so do I actually.
yeah.
3 pairs that went into the ocean yesterday because we didn't want to be walking on the rocks.
Can't blame you. But those were water shoes. These were not meant for mud.
Yeah,
They're like jean material. And I'm like, are you kidding me?
Lily wore her leather Blundstones into the ocean yesterday. I'm a little bit scared about how those are going to come out, but
Oh.
we will see. At least I got them off the swap.
Yeah, well, your husband has been bugging you. Mine is actually coming home tonight for dinner. So I actually have to go and wash dishes. And of course, this little one wants my attention. But thank you so much, Tania. And if you want to answer any more questions or anybody who's on the replay later, drop your questions. Tania's in the group. So just tag her, ask your question, and she will post the answers. And again, be sure to also check out. You have your website too for your doula services as
Yeah,
well, Tara?
I'll post the website and our different Instagrams and all of that, and I would love it. The more followers, the merrier. I'm not the best at posting, but I am learning and trying to work on getting better at that. So yeah, please follow me and ask all the questions. And between Jana and I'm volunteering Jana for this a little bit, but we would be happy to point you in the right direction or answer any questions that you might have and things like that. But yeah, it's an honor to have been invited here, Carly. Thank you so much. And I just like this group is, it's helping so many, and I know that it's just going to grow and grow and grow. Small ripples making big waves.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I said. And enough waves change the tide. But we have to have you on again, Tania, for either
absolutely
like for birth as well. I mean, you've had an amazing experience recently. Like, how many hours were you at that birth?
The birth, so total was 67 hours. So that's not active, that's also early labor. And then I had one on Tuesday that was, we entered the hospital together at 11 a.m. and we left together at 10 p.m.
And that was a water birth, wasn't it?
Yeah. Water birth in the hospital. Yeah.
Can be done in a hospital.
Absolutely. Yeah. Especially BC women.
Oh, Sabrina is asking, Michaela. Sabrina is asking if you have any infographics and pictures explaining seatbelt car seat safety basics. Do you have any favorites?
I will absolutely put those in the comment section. Yeah.
Well, you can also post just directly to the group too, because it's pictures.
Perfect. Okay.
And then you can do it that way. Okay. Well, I will see you later tonight because we have Katrina's thing.
Yes.
And I'll see you again after that
for
tomorrow.
A healing circle. Okay. Awesome.
Okay. Michaela, you want to say bye-bye?
Bye, Michaela. Bye. See you soon.
See you later. Well, you'll hopefully be in bed.
Bye, Tania.
Yes. Bye, Michaela.
Say bye to Auntie Sam because she's probably still watching too. You say bye, Auntie Sam, because you know she loves you.
Bye, Auntie Sam.
Okay, see you later, Tanya.
Okay. Okay. Bye.